According to sports science literature, proprioceptive training on unstable undergrounds improves the ability to sense the body's position and movements. This kind of training is recommended to enhance physical performance and to prevent injuries. In this video, you will watch 20 exercises and you will get useful explanations about why and how to organize this kind of strength training. During exercise 1, players are standing on a mat with open eyes and try to balance the disturbances made by the coach. Players try to react on the disturbances and try to hold a balanced position by processing visual information, but mainly information that come from inside the body parts, the so-called kinesthetic information. By processing this kind of information, the sense for the body and its movements will be improved. Exercise 2 is the same as exercise 1, but now with closed eyes. By reducing visual information, there is a higher focus on the kinesthetic information, and of course, the difficulty of this exercise is higher. While holding the eyes closed, there is also another sense that helps the player not to lose the orientation. It's the so-called vestibular system inside the ear that creates a sense of balance and orientation. During exercise 3 and 4, players are standing on one foot and try to hold the balance, first with eyes open and later with eyes closed, which is more demanding. Also, small jumps can be included as a little variation. The exercise duration during the single leg exercises should be shorter than during exercise 1 and 2 because more strength and balance is needed. Exercise 5 and 6 are the same as exercise 3 and 4, but with disturbing stimuli by the coach. It is good to place the weakest player in the middle position because the disturbance is stronger at the outside position. In this example, we used a mat, but there are a lot of different balance training tools. During exercise 7, players perform rope skippings forwards on the mat. This is only then possible when rope skippings are optimized in a good quality on the normal ground. In exercise 8, the rope skippings are performed with a backward swing, which is much more demanding. During exercise 9 and 10, the rope skippings are executed on one leg with forward swings in exercise 9 and backward swings in exercise 10. This is very demanding, especially concerning the strength and power of the knee extensor muscles. Exercises 11 to 19 aim at the strengthening of the core muscles. The disturbance by the coach cause additional stimuli because more muscle fibers and muscles must work at the same time to balance the position. In exercise 11, players are in a blank position. As a consequence, abdominal muscles and spinal erector muscles must work together for a stable position. Pay attention that players don't fall into an anterior pelvic tilt, which is a common mistake during exercise execution. For some players, it could be necessary to first enhance wrist stability by building up wrist and grip strength. During exercise 12, players are in the low blank position on the forearms. In addition to the abdominal muscles and spinal erector muscles, the quadriceps femoris stabilizes the knee joint, the serratus anterior and pectoralis major muscles stabilize the scapula, and the triceps muscle stabilize the elbow joint. In exercise 13, there are small adjustments in the core muscles when players transfer from the low to the high blank position, so they maintain activated. To make this exercise even harder, it's possible to raise one leg or one arm. The contraction of the abdominal muscles increase the intra-abdominal pressure, thus preventing pressure on the lower vertebrae. During exercise 14, the high forward plank on the hands is performed with the feet on the mat so that the disturbing impulse hits the lower extremities first. In contrast to the previous exercises, now the leg and lower core muscles must adjust to balance the disturbance to maintain a stable position. In these examples, players are not in a clean position because sometimes the buttocks are too high or too low. To correct this mistake, it's good to place a rod on the back of the player. This rod should touch the body at 3 places for a clean body position. First, the sacrum. Second, the center of the thoracic vertebrae between the shoulder blades. And third, the back of the head. During exercise 15, the low forward plank on the forearms is performed on one foot. As a consequence, there is an emphasis on the oblique abdominal muscles and the hip flexors of the supported leg. This exercise is more difficult and demanding, so the time under tension should be adapted and should be shorter than during the plank on both feet. During the execution of this exercise, the external oblique muscle is predominantly activated on the side of the lifted leg and the internal oblique muscle on the side of the leg with the ground contact. In exercise 16, a side plank on one arm or hand is performed. In addition, the feet are on the mat where the disturbing impulses appear from time to time. All muscles that face downwards stabilize this body position. These are, for example, the abdominal oblique muscles, the erector spinae, the pectoralis major, and the hip abductors. To make this exercise even harder, it is possible to raise the upper leg to bring more load and intensity on the abductor muscles of the supporting leg. As a variation, it is also possible to lift the downward leg and to use the upper leg as the stabilizer. That would shift the load and intensity on the adductor muscles of the upper supporting leg. During exercise 17, players are in a crunch position with elevated upper body and legs. The disturbing impulse this time hits the core and not the upper or lower extremities. The abdominal muscles, especially the rectus abdominis, flex the spine, and other muscles hold up the legs. These are the iliopsoas, the rectus femoris, the tensor fasciae latae, and the sartorius muscles. When the disturbing impulse comes in, not only the rectus abdominis muscle stay activated to hold the crunch position, but additional abdominal muscles will be activated to balance the position, such as the oblique muscles. As a variation, the hands can be placed behind the head, or the arms can be stretched straight backwards. By increasing the lever, the intensity on the abdominal muscles is raised, which makes this exercise even harder to perform. In exercise 18, players are in a reverse plank position. This exercise strengthens the hip extensor and erector muscles on the backside of the body. So the activated muscles are the gluteus maximus, the hamstrings, the erector spinae, and the quadratus lumborum. Pay attention that players don't drop down their hips so that the gluteus muscle stays intensely activated. By adding the disturbance stimulus by the coach, especially the hamstrings have to work when the knee angle is changing. In this exercise, the tips of the feet are raised so that the tibialis anterior muscle is also activated. To make this exercise more demanding, it is possible to perform it on one foot. During this exercise, the gluteus maximus extends and the gluteus medius stabilizes the hip joint. The erector spinae stabilizes the spine. During exercise execution, pay attention that the hip is not too low and not too high. When it's too low, there is not enough activation in the gluteus muscle, and when it's too high, there is too much pressure on the lower back spine. In exercise 19, the same muscle groups are working as in exercise 18. But in contrast, now the disturbance stimulus hits the upper body so that the lower back muscles and the gluteus muscle have to balance the stable position. Besides, to make this exercise harder by performing it on one leg, it's also possible to add some additional weight like a dumbbell that is holding with the hands on the hip. As a coach, it is important to give a good feedback during all of these strength exercises. This feedback should include motivational aspects as well as technical aspects for a clean execution of the exercises. Also, the exercise design can be a motivating factor. The following exercise 20 shows an example how especially male players like to battle each other. Both players should start in a sitting position in the middle of the marked zone. After giving a starting signal, both players try to push the opponent at the end of the zone. Thanks for watching, have fun during training, and please subscribe and ring the bell.